President Chartrand, thanks for joining us. I think it's safe to say you're a huge fan of this government and this budget, which includes more than $500 million for funding for the Métis Nation. Is this the most important budget you've ever seen?
Well, let me put it this way, Dennis. You said I'm a huge fan of this government and these budgets, and who would not be if you're Indigenous in this country? This is the first time in our history, and I've been in politics for over 30 years, and I've never seen a Prime Minister stretch their political capital so far for Indigenous peoples, and making sure reconciliation is true and it's real. We see it budget after budget after budget. So it is very clear that this Prime Minister wants to fix the wrongs of the past and make the future brighter for all of us as Indigenous people. So this budget, I think, is one, again, where I can give it an applause. It actually hits very clearly to our young people regarding post-secondary education. It helps in languages, helps in our economic capital investments. It makes it very clear. One big one for me is the veterans, setting aside $30 million for a trust that will be in place for the veterans. So if you look at overall, I think there's a mini sprinkling of aspects for all Indigenous people, and I can't say enough that we finally have a government that's really respecting the Indigenous people in this country and playing an even play field for all of us.
One of the key pieces of legislation the Liberals are trying to get passed before this coming election is the child welfare legislation, which the Metis Federation of Manitoba and others have accused the opposition parties of holding up. Some Indigenous leaders have expressed concerns over the legislation and the lack of funding attached. Is this bill doomed?
No, I believe this bill has definitely strong legs yet to move forward. I know that as we move and progress through the process, right now you can see what the Conservatives are doing. They're just doing all types of chaotic events inside. I was there in the budget when they were slamming their tables like children, and you couldn't even hear the budget being spoken of. And if we did as Indigenous people, they tell us we're children and have no right to self-government. But if you look at it from the perspective, I think this child welfare legislation is a great beginning. It really sets the stage way for us as we move forward as Indigenous governments, both First Nation, Inuit, and the Métis Nation. As we move forward in the self-government process, this legislation will smoothly find itself within our own government. So I believe it has strong legs. It's unfortunate that the Conservatives are holding up this process, and they should be showing support to this legislation. But right now, it's not about that. It's about them getting elected, and we're definitely not up in their priority list right now.
President Chartrand, we'll have to leave it there. Appreciate you taking some time for us.
Thank you very much, Dennis.